and good morning. Today is April 29th, 2020, and this is our daily news update. Let's start with the numbers. Worldwide, 3,160,000 people have tested positive for the coronavirus, and that has caused worldwide 219,000 deaths. Now, you need to know that about 1 out of 3 people who have the coronavirus are found in the United States. And that might be because we're doing testing. It might be because the disease has really exploded here in the United States. In the United States, and I'm just getting the latest numbers here, um, in the United States, there are more than 1 million people who have the virus, and it has now caused 59,000 deaths. An average flu costs 37,000 people their life in an average year. This has cost 59,000 in 2+ months, 82, 83 days from the first death to today. That's a pretty amazing and sobering statistic. And also, what people who look at death rates are thinking about is there's very clear evidence that there is a lot of other unexplained deaths. You look at the number of deaths that would occur in a year, okay? You look at the number of deaths that would occur in a year, in an average year, and then you look at what's taking place in 2020. And what you find is there's an awful lot of people dying. And it's not just because of the coronavirus, it's other things too. And it's these excess deaths caused by the coronavirus. And then there's other things that are happening. And scientists are wondering if a lot of these other deaths are being caused by the coronavirus. We're going to find out. It's not going to be found out in a while. There's going to be a lot of research and study that's going to go on for many years to really understand what is taking place here. Okay, the latest numbers from Texas, 26,000 people have the coronavirus. There has been 300,000 people who've been tested for the coronavirus. Now, 300,000 people sounds like a lot until you remember the population of Texas, about 29 million. So we've got a long way to go to really test people in this state. And 690 people have died because of the coronavirus. And that's an increase from 27 from yesterday. Here in the city of Abilene, 277 people have tested positive for the coronavirus, and that includes, uh, I think the latest count is 41 members of the Abilene Fire Department, about a dozen members of the Abilene Police Department. And what appears to have happened is that the police and fire department had contact with some COVID-19 positive cases as part of their normal jobs as frontline responders, first responders, and they got caught. They got infected by it, and it's really spread in their ranks. So that, plus the fact that the public health department here in Abilene also has had the virus, really raises concerns, I would argue, about what is going on here in the city. The New York Times a couple of days ago said we are one of the top 15 hotspots in the country for this virus. So, by the way, did you hear that 2 people in Georgia tried to drink disinfectant to take care of the virus, to prevent their getting the virus? And, well, they were hospitalized because of it. Don't do things that are that stupid. Okay, there is an organization called One Day Sooner, and they're looking for people who will voluntarily take these vaccines that are being developed, and then they will get exposed to the coronavirus and see what happens. If the vaccines work, they won't get the coronavirus. If the vaccines don't work, they will get the coronavirus. And there's been about 7,700 people who volunteered for these vaccines. I'm not sure I would want to do that. You know as well as I do, there's 1% chance of dying. And so, do you want to be one of the ones who would test the vaccine? So, I just threw that out, something to think about. Um, you know, ah, we, you know, we need people to volunteer to do that. Is that something that anybody would really want to do? Okay. Let's go to voting, mail-in voting. There was a study done yesterday, a survey of Americans by the Pew Research Center, and they asked Americans, do you think you support mail-in voting? And what the results show is that 70% of Americans think that any American should be allowed to vote using the mail during this time. Now, go back 4 years ago, it was only 32%. And in this survey, 52% of Americans think that mail-in voting is the only way to do voting. So the Republicans, especially the president, have pushed back against mail-in voting, saying that mail-in voting is a way to commit fraud in elections. And they're absolutely correct. If you look at the cases of fraud in elections, almost exclusively, it's from mail-in voting. But if you look at the elections over the last 20 years, we've had about 20 cases, and almost all of them have been small city council, school board, county commissioner kind of elections. They haven't been big elections. There was one election that really stands out, and that was in 2018, and that was for a seat in Congress. And the Republican candidate engaged in voter fraud, it looks like. And so, as a consequence, the state refused to certify the election and they had to do it over. Okay, so mail in voting does allow for the possibility of fraud. It is a real issue, but it happens so seldom. And most Americans, when given the opportunity to mail in vote, do so. In fact, my mother, when she was alive living in Oregon, the only way to vote was mail in voting. Utah, the only way to vote, my understanding is mail in voting. You can conduct statewide elections with mail in voting with very little cases of fraud. So, thought I'd share that out. Just a couple other things. Nobody knows where Kim Jong Un is still. There's some evidence that there's some boats now outside his compound where he goes for summer vacation, and that's a further indication that he is there. There's continuing stories that he is comatose. Um, we just don't know. South Korea says there's no indication from all their intelligence sources that he is dead. There's no indication that a leadership struggle is taking place. Early signs are that if Kim Jong Un has died, his sister would take over as the new leader in North Korea. But the reality is, we just don't know. And that's just weird. We just don't know. Okay. The US government came out with its projections on the economy, and the latest numbers, they just came out this morning about a half an hour ago. The latest numbers show that the US economy shrank, and let me just get the correct amount. Let's see, US economy shrank at a 4.8% annual rate in the first quarter, its biggest contraction since the Great Recession in 2008. And then the New York Times says the worst is yet to come. Economists expect figures from the current quarter, the one that we're in right now, to show the gross domestic product. That's how you measure how the economy is doing, the gross domestic product, to contract at an annual rate of 30% or more. So the first 3 months of the year, everything was going good till the middle of March. So January, February, March, everything was going good till the middle of March. And then we hit a wall and went straight down. And we ended up at the end of March with an economy that shrank 4.8%. Okay? If it does that in 2 quarters, that's considered a recession. And the sense is that we are deep in a recession right now. And the only question is, are we in a depression? And as we start to get back to more normal things, what will it look like? What is the real damage to the economy from this abrupt shutting of it? We're going to find out in time. Okay, that's going to conclude this one for today. I want you to think about one thing, and that's the question. You know, I talked earlier about the vaccines. Well, if those vaccines become available, should every person be required to get a vaccine? You know, there's some people who don't believe in vaccines. Okay, they think they're dangerous. Well, we're going to have a vaccine, if we're lucky, maybe later this month. Here's my cat entering the picture. This is Pluto. Okay, and we're going to have a vaccine coming into the picture. Should we all be required to get it? Okay, do we make it mandatory? And that's an interesting question. I don't know what the answer is to that. For it to be effective, we need just about everybody to get it. So we'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, that's it for today. Take care, stay healthy.